So we now have to come out and speak out. As our revelations continue to be verified, we now hope American people can join us in eliminating the Chinese Communist Party. And we're not asking you to give us money or arms or die of revolution or wars. All America needs to do is very simple. Stop supporting the Chinese Communist Party. And decouple from the Chinese Communist Party technologically and financially. And leave the rest to the new Federal State of China. And we ensure you the elimination of the Chinese Communist Party in China. Today, hundreds of millions of people, the majority of them are working covertly in the party in China and supporting us. We have 21 chapters around the globe, and we are more united and determined than ever. And I truly believe soon enough, we'll stand atop the Beijing Pangu Plaza again and put Xi Jinping, the dictator, on a Nuremberg trial for his crimes and make it the devil's last night. That night, we will see the end of the evil communist regime. That night, we will reunite with our loved ones. And that night, for the very first time in history of that soil, we will see a free China, a new China, the new Federal State of China.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to our news and information program, where we talk about just how evil the Chinese Communist Party actually is and how they have over the years infiltrated deep into the Western world. Once again, I'm here with Mr. Cao, who is from the UK. And my name is Sima, and I'm from the US. Hello, Mr. Cao, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Sima. Hello again, everyone. And I really do hope that you're all doing very well. Now, let's get started with our first story. It's the US strategy regroups and reorganizes for long-term economic and military competition with Communist China. This story comes directly from the US White House, December the 4th, 2025. The new US national security strategy identifies China as the primary long-term strategic challenge and rejects earlier assumptions that economic engagement would integrate Beijing into a rules-based international order. It emphasizes restoring American economic independence by countering China's state-led industrial subsidies, unfair trade practices, large-scale IP theft, supply chain manipulations, and fentanyl-related chemical exports. The US aims to use tariffs, reciprocal trade agreements, and coordination with allies, leveraging a combined $65 trillion in economic power to rebalance trade and limit Communist China's excess industrial capacity and strengthen the dollar's role globally, including by helping developing countries build capital markets. The strategy also seeks to curb China's expanding geopolitical influence by offering transparent, high-tech and financial partnerships to countries worldwide, and by working with Europe, Japan, Korea and India and many others on critical minerals and strategic access. Militarily, it prioritizes deterring conflict in the Indo-Pacific, especially regarding Taiwan, securing the first island chain and ensuring the South China Sea remains open to global commerce. It calls for major allied burden sharing, expanded US access to regional facilities, and increased investment in advanced dual-use technologies, including undersea systems, space and nuclear modernization, AI and quantum computing to maintain long-term deterrence and stability. So, Seema, big news for Washington. I mean, the US now says that Communist China is its main long-term rival. Are we heading for a Cold War 2.0? And why change course after years of trade and engagement?
It's a sharp turn, but not sudden. For 40 years, the U.S. hoped that trade would liberalize China. That idea goes back to the 1990s, when China was brought into global markets. Now, Washington believes that bet failed. So it's shifting from integration to containment with allies.
Well, I mean, they talk about tariffs, IP theft, supply chains. Is this really about national security or just economics? And can the US really decouple from Communist China at this stage?
It's both. In US thinking, factories are now strategic assets. Chips, batteries, rare earths, they are traded like weapons. Full decoupling isn't realistic, but selective decoupling is. The goal is to build friend-assured supply chains with Europe, Japan, India, and Korea.
Yeah, but what about Taiwan and the South China Sea? I mean, the language seems to me pretty tense. Are we getting closer to war than we were a year or two ago?
Closer to deterrence, not necessarily war. The US is trying to make any conflict too costly to start by locking down the first island chain and spreading military access across allies.
Yes, so Seema, in your opinion, what's the end game here?
A long-managed rivalry, not hard war, not peace, but a permanent high-pressure standoff. History tells us when a rising power meets a ruling power, the world enters its most dangerous chapter. Now let's talk about next story. Myers Yu, ending strategic ambiguity over Taiwan, should start with Japan. Kenji Yoshida, December 4th, 2025. China expert Myers Yu argues that Washington's long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity towards Taiwan has outlived its usefulness and urges Japan to lead efforts to redefine the regional approach. He says Beijing's narrative portraying Japan as an aggressor is baseless, and that Prime Minister Sanae Takashi was right to state openly that Taiwan's security directly affects Japan. Yu warns that a Chinese takeover of Taiwan would expose Japan's south flank, extend China's air defense reach, and threaten key maritime routes. This stresses that any conflict would inevitably involve Japan and South Korea due to Chinese preemptive strike strategies. Despite speculation, Yu insists U.S. commitment to Taiwan remains firm under Trump, noting continued arms sales and bipartisan support for deterrence. He dismisses the idea that Trump would trade Taiwan in negotiations with Beijing. Ultimately, Yu argues ambiguity no longer serves a purpose and calls on Japan to spearhead moves toward clear Taiwan policy and recognition. So another shocking wave from Asia, Miles Yu says, it's time to end strategic ambiguity on Taiwan and that Japan should lead the effort to lead the shift. Isn't that extremely risky? Wouldn't that provoke China? And why Japan, not the US?
Well, yeah, Seema, you're right. I mean, it all sounds pretty risky to me, but the logic is actually quite old. I mean, strategic ambiguity. I mean, that was born in the Cold War, meant to confuse Beijing and deter any kind of war. Now, Yu argues that today, ambiguity no longer deters, it actually tempts. China's military is stronger, and grey zone pressure has become constant.
But dragging Japan into this openly, doesn't that revive its post-war pacifist identity?
Yeah, I mean, Simi, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the historical break. I mean, since World War II, Japan hid behind Article 9. Now, leaders like Sonai Tanahashi are signaling that Taiwan is Japan's front line, not a distant issue. I mean, if Taiwan falls, Japan's sea lanes and airspace become exposed overnight.
What about Trump? People keep saying he might trade Taiwan for a deal with Beijing.
Well, I don't believe that for a minute, but Yu calls that a myth. Arms sales never actually stopped, and Congress is fully aligned. The real shift is not abandonment, but clarity, moving from confusion to commitment.
So what's the future look like?
Well, hopefully it's less ambiguity. I mean, more headlines. The region is entering an era where silence is seen as weakness and clarity becomes its own form of deterrence. Right, our next story. Another potential advanced technology espionage at Stanford. Stanford Review, 1st of December 2025. Stanford professor Wendy Mao, chair of Earth Science and SLAC deputy director, faces an awful lot of scrutiny for extensive collaborations with the Center for High Pressure Science and Technology Advanced Research, the HP STAR, identified by the US as an alias for Communist China's nuclear weapons program, and added the entity list in 2020. Despite this, Mao, she's certainly got the right family name, has co-authored at least 12 papers with HP STAR and trained 5 affiliated PhD students in her US labs, who consequently returned back to mainland China. Mao's undisclosed affiliations include serving as a visiting scholar at HP STAR and facilitated HP STAR's researchers access to sensitive US national laboratories and equipment. Their work often involves projects co-funded by both the US National Nuclear Security Administration and China's Nuclear Program Fund. I mean, that is unbelievable. Experts argue that her high-pressure materials research provides foundational knowledge for modern nuclear weapon design. Concerns are raised over non-disclosure of foreign affiliations, potential export control violations, and breaches of the Wolf Amendment. This case is presented as a broader pattern of Stanford researchers' direct links to Chinese military-affiliated institutions, prompting calls for US institutions and the government to enhance research security. I mean, it's all unbelievable that, the US would allow this to happen. This Stanford story it's just beyond alarming. A top professor directly linked to a communist Chinese lab tied to nuclear weapons. How does this even happen today in the US? Didn't we learn from past tech transfer scandals? And could this have already helped China's military?
It feels shocking, but it's part of a longer history. For decades after the Cold War, US universities were designed for openness, not counterintelligence. Collaboration was seen as competition's cure. The US thought science could soften rivals. China treated science as strategy.
I mean, we've all learned over the years that, the Chinese Communist Party, who obviously rule everything in China, that they cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted at all. But this isn't simply normal cooperation, Seema. It sounds like direct access to incredibly sensitive labs. Well, isn't that illegal?
That's the gray zone. The Wolf Amendment was meant to block exactly this kind of cooperation, and export controls are strict to paper, but universities sit between national security and academic freedom. That gap become the biggest vulnerability.
Well, no, you're right. It does. It certainly does. It is their biggest vulnerability. And those PhD students, well, they just go straight back to communist China. Isn't that yet another brain drain, or is it something much darker, Seema?
From Beijing's view, it's talent repatriation. From Washington's view, it's knowledge leakage. In high-pressure physics, even basic research can transfer into better warhead design.
Well, Seema, what happens next then?
Expect tighter research security, more audits, and more tension on campus. The age of open science between great power is ending. Universities are quietly become the new front lines of strategic rivalry. Now, let's watch a video clip of my school, very early dated on December 9th, 2018.
When everyone is familiar with the 1,000 Talents Plan, who hears about China's 100 Talents Plan? When did the 100 Talents Plan begin? The 100 Talents Plan started in 1995. The Jiang family initiated all of these plans. The Jiang family is one of the most important figures, started from the Institute of Physics of the Chinese Academy of Sciences to the 100 Talents Plan in 1995, and to the 1,000 Talents Plan in recent years. The most central figure is the one that everyone had forgotten, WangEnge, the husband of Gu Dongmei, the Deputy Secretary General of the Institute of Physics and the former president of Peking University. The CCP dispatched Wang, a spy with a triple identity, as its most successful overseas agent. He, an academic, played an important role in the CCP's BGY, blackmail, bribery, and honey trap strategy for the entire academic community. Second, as a technical spy, he steals Western technologies. The third and most central one is to penetrate into the heart of the U.S. politics and economy. He was undoubtedly the representative who applied the CCP's BGY strategy to its friendly relations. Are you surprised by this revelation? Let's look up a professor named Wen Xiaogong at MIT, academician Tiangong from the Beijing Institute of Mathematics, and Professor Niu Qian from Peking University. Take a good look at these people. Everyone also needs to take a look at Huawei, a person named Xu Weiya who is associated with Ren Jingfei, as well as Zhang Chuang, Vice Chairman of the Chinese Physical Society. Today, we talked about an important point. For the past few decades, the CCP has been able to systematically attack the US and the West economically, technologically, and militarily. They say they look down on the US, and the Jiang family has absolute control over it. What does the Jiang family control? The Jiang family controls Shanghai University of Science and Technology. Let's check again. Jiang Mianhong is the president and founder of Shanghai University of Science and Technology. Where does the money come from? Jiang Mianhong is an important leader of China's satellite and moon landing programs. He is also an important promoter of quantum research. He is the key decision-maker who has invested the most in China's chip development, with trillions of dollars invested. This is one of the key technologies in the competition between China and the US, and Americans have completely lost it. In this regard, the whole world is definitely losing to the CCP. What is this? This is quantum research. What is quantum research? Today, all our data is our SA encrypted, using the linking method, encryption, and AES. All police and national defense agencies also use the AES 256 security method. This is how the data is encrypted today. We call it 4G. What is the idea behind 5G development? If 4G is 1,000, 5G is probably 1,000 or even 100 million times that. That is, when you're in front of 5G or quantum computers, you have no secrets at all. There are no secrets. The United States is behind in this regard. The United States is fundamentally lagging behind. Among the MIT, Stanford University Institute of Physics, and the Institute of Physics, including the best physics institute in the UK, there is a character who has been following these for decades. Who is this? WangEnge. Until today, Mr. WangEnge has been the director of the Institute of Physics and the Institute of Physics of the Chinese Academy of Sciences in China for the past few decades. His wife, Ms. Gu Dongmei, has now joined this institute as well. WangEnge is also a director of the American Physical Research Association and a director and member of the board of directors of the British Physical Research Association. From the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the Institute of Physics of Peking University, he is the main person in charge of the two physics institutes. WangEnge was one of the world's top 5 physics research masters, and his wife was among the top 10. Who are his students, and who are his supporters? One of them is Zhang Shouqing, who has just been committed suicide.
Okay, yeah. Next, we have another shocking story here. FBI report China steals $300 to $600 billion IPs annually and systematically dismantles America's innovation advantage. Quantum News, December 1st, 2025. China is waging the world's largest state-directed technology theft campaign, with the FBI reporting a new China-related counterintelligence case every 10 hours and an estimated $300 to $600 billion in U.S. intellectual property stolen annually. The Minister of State Security coordinates cyber hacks, inside recruitment, and infiltration through Chinese tech firms, universities, and talent programs, like the Southern Talents Program. Recent cases include a Google engineer stealing 500 more AI files, a Boeing engineer taking 3,600 defense documents, and a Corning expert leaking DARPA-funded laser technology for $50,000 per month. About 80% of DOJ economic espionage cases involve China. Through most theft is never detected. Though most theft is never detected, every stolen trade secret strengthens China's military through its military civil fusion system and weakens Americans' technological and economic edge. It is far beyond stealing technology. It's systematically dismantling America's innovation advantage. So this new FBI report sounds terrifying. They say China steals up to $600 billion in U.S. technology every year. Is that even believable? And a new case every 10 hours. How is this not a full-blown tech war?
Well, Seema, I mean, it basically is a tech war. I mean, this didn't all start yesterday. Back in the 1990s, the US treated China as a future partner. Now, China treated the US with contempt, obviously, and also as a knowledge mine. What we're seeing now is the result of 30 years of that complete mismatch.
Google engineers, Boeing files, DARPA laser tag. That sounds like spy novels, not real life. How deep does this go?
Well, much, much deeper than the headlines. I mean, China uses a system called military civil fusion. That means stolen commercial tech doesn't just stay commercial, it goes straight into missiles, drones, AI targeting, cyber warfare. It's not theft for profit, it's theft for power.
But if the FBI knows this, why hasn't it been stopped?
Yeah, well, Seema, openness is a double-edged sword. The US ecosystem is built on collaboration and trust. Beijing's system is built on direction and discipline. One is open by design, the other is optimized to exploit that openness.
So what's the real danger going forward?
Well, I mean, the danger just isn't losing patents. It's more about losing time. When you steal instead of invent, you skip years and years of trial and failure. And in AI, quantum and defense tech, years of time equals more global power. I mean, this isn't simply just about copying anymore. Seema, it's about overtaking.
So where does this leave us?
Well, I'll tell you where it leaves us, Seema. It leaves us in a permanent innovation war. The battlefield is no longer just land and sea. It's laboratories, servers, code, and mines. Well, now it's time for us to watch another video with Miles Guo. This one's dated the 18th of July, 2020.
The CCP is not a technology power. The CCP steals technology from America. And because the greed of America's tycoon technology companies helps the CCP gain technology power. Secondly, the CCP never creates real profits, like their GDP. They cheat America, Europe, and the rest of the world. They made it because of the World Trade Organization contract. Then it allows the CCP to cheat and get your money. That's your money, not created by the CCP. So, you see, they have the $400 billion in Iran by making the oil deal. They have $1.3 billion for the last 8 years to build one belt, one road, and give it to South Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. This is money not from China, not from the CCP. The Chinese use their blood and hard work to make the project cheaper. And they make Nike shoes to sell them to America. You Americans like to buy cheaper Nike shoes and help the CCP. CCP always like Americans. China only has 90 million CCP members. Not all 1.4 billion are CCP members. But you know, over the past 70 years, American media don't like to talk about this to America and the Chinese people. China has only 90 million CCP members to control the entire country. Also, maybe the top 10 or the top 20 families control all of China and all of the market. They say that they can make weapons to threaten America, and cheat Europe. You look here today for the DOJ bribery. Oh my God, I think that's very important. It created a new history. And you know, Peter Navarro said, the CCP lies, Americans die. That's very important, sir. That's the truth. You need to know that the CCP has no capability to earn $1 trillion. Because in 2001, before entering the World Trade Organization with America, all of China had a $1.3 trillion GDP. After signing the World Trade Organization until now, it has a $14 trillion GDP that is from America and the rest of the world.
You're saying that before they allowed the American elites and the world elites to let them into the WTO, the total GDP of the country was barely over $1 trillion. Today, 20 years later, it's $14 trillion. That all came from capital, technology, and particularly access to markets in the United States and Europe. It's essentially the money of America and the West that did this.
Sir, it is. So, this is 100% true.
Wow, great video there, Steve Bannon and the Mighty Mouse Go. Our final story tonight is the ironclad evidence. Chinese part supplier takes stake in leading Russian drone manufacturer. This is a story from Quantum News, December the 1st, 2025. Communist China's Wang Dinghua, majority owner of drones part supplier Shenzhen Minhuaxing, recently acquired a 5% stake in Russia's drone manufacturer, Ruscat. Deepening cooperation between the two countries' military-industrial sectors, Ruscat produces the VT-40 FPV drone, heavily used by Russian forces in the Ukraine war. Following the ownership change, Russian authorities quickly suppressed all related corporate records. Now, Minhuaxing and Wang linked companies have already supplied hundreds of millions of dollars worth of batteries, motors, controllers, and other components to Ruscat and its affiliate Santex. Now, the companies also source Chinese production equipment, showing an integrated supply chain. Well, Ruscat, a sanctioned entity, is absolutely central to Russia's rapidly scaled FPV drone production, which relies heavily on Chinese electronics. I mean, this last report feels a bit like a smoking gun. A Chinese drone parts billionaire buying into a Russian war drone company. I mean, Seema, how serious is this? This is basically communist China backing Russia's war in Ukraine. And why would the records suddenly disappear?
It's more serious than it looks. History matters here. During the Cold War, the U.S. and the Soviet built proxy supply chains. What's happening now is a modern version of that. But instead of tanks, it's chips, batteries, and motors. Deniability is a strategy.
Yeah, but Seema, just a 5% stake, it sounds pretty small, yeah? Why is everyone panicking over 5%?
Because ownership isn't the real story. Control part is. FPV drones are not limited by design, they are limited by components. If you control motors, flight controllers, and batteries, you control the war tempo. That's power without flags.
Yeah, and the Russians deleting all these records, that sounds like a massive cover-up, yeah?
It almost certainly is. In sanctions industries, paper trails are liabilities. Quiet ownership and quiet supply chain keeps the machine running, while politicians deny coordination.
Yeah, but Seema, where does this all lead?
A new kind of warfare economy. Wars won't just be fought by soldiers. They will be won by factories, shipping routes, and civilian supplier quietly sitting behind the front lines. Okay, over to you now, Mr. Carl.
Well, it's all pretty depressing stuff, isn't it? But I mean, that's about it for this week. I mean, many thanks to everyone for listening to our broadcast, and we will be back again next week with more, hopefully, interesting stories and information. But always remember that, you know, the Chinese Communist Party and communism in general is never the answer. And if we all work together, we can And hopefully we will defeat and destroy communism forever. Because, as I always say, together we are stronger, and together we can take down the evil CCP. So bye for now. All take very good care of yourselves, and we will see you all next week.
Okay, see you next time.
Okay.